What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Scouting Combine here. I am your host, Hussam Patel. I've been on a brief hiatus, but I am back. And today I have our co host, Alfredo Arteaga of 3 Yards per Carry. Alf, how are we doing today?
Spectacular.
Spectacular. Why is that?
I don't know. Teaching people basic math and on my Twitter account, but
You're going through all those stats and everything, which everyone is arguing over, quarterbacks and Tua and, just all the emotions from, last week's playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs. What did you initially think about that
from the game,
from the game?
I thought that the conditions took away from a lot of the things that they wanted to do, and the quarterback just couldn't handle those conditions. And before everybody says, "Oh, so he can't play in any cold weather," no, he played in cold weather the year before in Buffalo and played fine. It was those extreme conditions that he just could not handle. While Patrick Mahomes handled it enough to score enough points to win a game like that. Miami could not. And the
All
play
right.
calling wasn't all that great to begin with. And we could get into that as well.
Before we get into that, first want to do an ad read with NFL Game Pass. Our show today is sponsored by NFL Game Pass and NFL Plus. NFL Plus is $6.99 a month, and NFL Plus Premium is $14.99 a month, which includes NFL Red Zone, which is now defunct as we are in the playoffs. NFL Red Zone does not work in the playoffs, but it does include all 22, which we might be using today, just so you guys can see how NFL Game Pass and the All 22 works on the NFL Plus app. Again, you can watch for $14.99. You could watch all the playoff games on your mobile, tablet, laptop, and desktop as well. NFL Plus is $6.99 a month, which includes game rewinds, and you're able to listen to all the shows live, watch NFL Network live, and do show replays as well. So once again, if you guys are interested, go ahead and sign up for NFL Plus. It is $6.99 a month. NFL Plus Premium is $14.99 a month. So Alf, first things first, we have to talk about one of the main guys here, Tua Tagovailoa. You said that you don't think he handled the weather conditions enough in that extreme cold, 0 degrees, negative 31 miles per hour, negative 31 degrees. It felt like that with the windshield. The game plan coming into this game, and it showed, was to throw everything short, play the screen game, hope your blockers get the right blocks, and work your magic up the field. Now, it didn't work. Why is that?
I think partly in design, I thought that they should have been, and oddly enough, they scored a touchdown on a shot play. Oddly enough, I thought that they should have been playing the run pass punt game and trying to set up the shot play to try to score a touchdown via shot play, and that's precisely what they did. They just got completely away from it, and then they have some design issues as far as in their passing game as well. And then they did the worst thing an offense can ever do in any game, and this is whether it's great weather, bad weather, dome, turf, grass, anywhere, and that's chase the scoreboard. And they chased it from pretty much the second half on, and that's the wrong approach.
So
When you're trying,
is there a specific play from Tua or the offense you want to go over, and I can put it up on NFL Game Pass right now that we can show our audience?
well, there's two particular plays. The game I believe was lost and it could have been won on one sequence, and that's when the Chiefs made the score 13-7 in the second quarter, and Miami got the ball back, and they got a good return from Berrios that set them up at, I believe, the 31-yard line, 32-yard line. And then they ran the ball 5 consecutive times to set up 3rd and 2. The two passes they threw on 3rd and 2 and 4th and 2 are almost completely on the quarterback, and they could have been avoided. And the reason the way you could have avoided it is by running on 3rd and 2 if you knew you were going to go for it on 4th and 2.
Hmm. Do you remember
And
what the timestamp was? Because I can pull. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up.
I'm not sure. I have it here. It's exactly right after it went 13. Right after they kick a field goal to make it 13-7, that drive.
Let's
That
see. This is
they turned it
7-0.
over on downs.
This is 7-0 in the first quarter. That's 10-7, 13. Here's the turnover on downs right here.
That's it. They ran the ball 5 times. You can play the entire sequence if you want.
Yeah.
And that's going to look like the type of game-winning sequence that you get from a team that's actually breathing well in the game. You get the good return out to the 34-yard line, and then you get to see how they established what they wanted to do here. Okay, now
Mm-hmm.
you can play the play. They call an alert, and they're running it, play side. They gain 8 yards on toss crack. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at the next play. Look at the next play. It's inside zone where he bypasses the blocker, gets another 3 yards, first down. Now
Mm-hmm.
look at the next play. These are all mindset calls.
Kept running the ball well
Yeah,
right here.
four,
That looked like a
four.
duo play right there.
Yeah, and that looked like ISO. I forgot what they call it, ISO near, but they got 4 yards. That's another good play. And here we go.
Mhm.
We're still on the ground, and we're making positive plays and moving into positive territory by just running the football. No passes. Run the next play.
That's around 4 or 5 yards as well.
Yep. Okay. So now you're setting up. Yeah, you're setting up third and manageable here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And here we go.
Swing pass. Didn't work.
Drop. And it was a bad pass to begin with. It was a little too high, a little too hot. You see?
Mm-hmm.
You have to almost you could also blame Mostert for getting a little bit too wide, but he has to give him the lane, okay,
Mm-hmm.
on that side, because they didn't cut the end, and they probably should have cut the end. So
The other thing is, if he tries to put it where Monster's chest is, it's a backward pass.
right.
And if it's dropped, or if Monster fumbles it, the Chiefs defense can recover. If, like if Monster right there, if he's like right here, right where the 50-yard line is, he can take this and gain what, maybe 5, 6 extra yards and set up first down right there.
And it's another first down, and you're in plus territory, and you could get back to what you were doing successfully.
So here we
So
have cap for life here. Go get Derrick Henry and Justin Fields. There's been a lot of talk about the Dolphins trying to get another quarterback, and I honestly can't believe
sure,
people
let's
are
go
saying,
get Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen. Are they available?
yeah, those three guys are unicorns. But Alf, CJ Stroud, he's a rookie. He's playing really, really well. What do you say about that?
Oh well, I like them coming out.
Yeah.
But you could have gotten Bryce Young too, and
Mhm.
he did not have a good season this year, or Anthony Richardson, who got injured. And now
And here we
watch
go.
here,
Out
and this
wide,
is
empty
so
set.
so this drive started running the ball. It kept going running the ball. It's going to end on 2 incomplete passes. Now watch this play, okay? And I want you to watch the if you can put the play. Look at Tyreek Hill's pivot route and how he gets Trent McDuffie caught in the wash.
Oh crap. It was this drive right here. We were at the turnover on downs, not playing. This is the sideline. Let me try to get this scoring drive back again. This is where the swing pass is. Then after this drive, we'll see this on fourth down. So this is third and manageable right here. You go for the pass.
Yeah, it's 3rd and 2.
Now,
When
after this play, it's
I
going to be
argue
fourth.
they should have been running the football,
Right.
but okay, no matter, right? So you got to pick up this 4th and 2. So you're going to put in this call, And at first, it looks like it's a pivot route,
Mhm.
but watch
Like
what
right
Tyreek.
here.
But watch what Tyreek does with this. His improvisation actually pops him wide open. Watch this. Saw how he pinches?
Mhm. And he just moves whoop
Now,
outside.
now, now watch. Watch. He pinches, presses, comes right back out. That ball has to be gone right
It has
here.
to be out right there. But
And
he's not reading it, right? He's looking right here. He's looking more so to the field side right here. He's looking to the strong side of the concept.
mhm.
That's where his first read is. He's like, nope. He's covered. He's covered. He's covered. Now read right here.
And that ball should have been gone. And that's a first down and possibly more. And who knows if he could beat a guy in the open field, he could score on it. But
Mm-hmm.
instead, Tua pulls
Oh,
it down, allows McDuffie to get back into the play, and now it's a contested hook route. So it gets broken up, and that's pretty much the ball game right there. And that's all an execution on the quarterback and the play caller. So I could argue that it could have been avoided by a different play call on
mm-hmm.
3rd and 2.
Or just running the ball.
Yeah, just run the ball on 3rd and 2. And then that still sets you up for the same fourth and 2 play. And then there has to be some self-awareness. Okay.
So let me ask you this, man. When we're talking about the offensive concepts here, doing a little bit of deep diving, and 9 NFL teams had 2 wide receivers with over 700 receiving yards each. Uh, of these teams, the Dolphins ranked eighth with regards to the percent of snaps that both wide receivers were on the field, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, which was 44% of the time. They ranked number one by far with regards to percent of snaps with neither wide receiver on the field, which was 18%. The only team that had a lower percent of snaps with both those wide receivers on the field was the Vikings, in part due to Justin Jefferson's injury. But the thing is, the Vikings had one of the best tight ends in football in TJ Hawkinson. Of the other 7 teams, 5 made the playoffs. The 2 teams that did not was Seattle and Jacksonville. Now, other playoff teams utilize their offensive weapons at a far higher rate than Miami did. And it's not as if Miami has an elite tight end to make up for this. So Philadelphia had 91%, Buffalo 76, Tampa 70, Seattle 68, the Rams 59, Jacksonville 57, San Francisco 55%. And San Francisco has an elite tight end in George Kittle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for the majority of the snaps this season for the Dolphins, their second best wide receiver on the field was Cedric Wilson or Braxton Berrios. For 18% of snaps this season, one of those guys was the best wide receiver on the field with no tight end threat in the passing game. So the takeaway from this is you're calling these concepts, you're calling these shot concepts, you're calling these intermediate routes, these deep routes for one of your star wide receivers, either Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. And the second one has to be Braxton Berrios or Cedric Wilson. Now, why do you think that was the case? Either was it due to injuries with Hill and Waddle, or was McDaniel adamant in his scheme, his conceptual scheme?
Well, I think he wanted to keep them fresh, and it's also part of his scheme. It was interesting that Tyreek Hill had his most productive season as a pro, yet he played the second fewest snaps since his rookie year. I think only his rookie year was the year where he played less snaps than this year. But there's a concept called the wasted route. For example, would you have Raekwon Davis run a go route on offense? No, right?
No.
Okay. There are way too many slot fades and glance routes run by Durham Smythe on this offense. And I think that's where you have your personnel problem on this team. Okay. On the offensive side of the ball. Uh, in my opinion, there are no personnel problems on the defensive side of the ball except in the secondary. I think they need an overhaul there. But on offense, there's just way too many wasted routes on this offense. Every time, and you could see it with Kansas City, they were already smart to it. They ran a slot fade with Durham Smythe in the second quarter, and you could see how they passed him off not only to begin with, but then completely ignored the route and gave him the space to the point where if you're rewatching the game on the All 22 and you're critiquing the quarterback, I would have actually advocated for to just throw the ball over there to see if maybe you gain some respect for Durham Smythe down the field
Mm-hmm.
because the Chiefs sure as hell were not respecting him.
You think it was this play right here? It was 3rd and 13, second
No, it
quarter.
was going in. It was going in. Believe in the third quarter. Although they did a lot of it. Like you could see it all day, where there was like where there's a glance route right there. Although he's running the short hook, but there's a play where they're going in the third quarter. They're at about the 36 or 37-yard line.
I mean, look, it was open there too.
Yeah, he was open there. Well, that one was actually the worst play. Like if you put that play back, I'll show you the whole process and how it was completely screwed up. Okay, you're way behind the sticks here. So you're either going to get yourself more room to punt, and you throw the easy completion that they're giving you, or you use the numbers. Like right here, you got, which is essentially a load. Okay, you got
This is
four.
basically a 4 strong look right here to this
Yeah,
side.
it's four. It not only is it four strong, but look at the numbers, and then I want you to look at the well there where's the ball. Oh, it's in the middle of the field,
Right
okay,
here.
so it doesn't matter, but I want you to look at the perimeter corner and watch what happens. I want you run the play. That guy right there, watch, run the play. He bails at the bottom of his drop, of Tua's drop. He could hit Achan and look at all the room that Achan has on the check down, or just take what they're giving you, the 10 yards, which gets you half of what you needed, or a little over half of what you needed to Durham Smythe. He doesn't take it. He wants more. He wants the high look, and there just isn't anything to throw there.
So look, like when we're talking about the offensive concepts, let me get it to okay, right here. Usually, the Shanahan scheme is you're looking at your intermediate route, then you look at your high route, and then your low route. So the read is 1, 2, 3, and this is your safety blanket right here. Now, what Tua is processing right here, and let's take a look at this coverage right here. Pre-snap, right here. Okay, you have what front is this, Alf, right here?
It's a two by. I think that's 2x4. I think it's a 245. The two
Uh
by
huh.
four for. It's an over front.
Uh
I
huh.
know that.
Yeah,
Okay,
you have.
which is some. It's boilerplate. It's what Kansas City likes to do. I thought they were going to show a little bit more 50 stuff, but I was wrong. But that's why Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best defensive coordinators
Hmm.
in the world. He gambled on Miami being a little bit pass happy. I
Hmm.
would have been different. I would have been game planning to stop Miami's run. He didn't care.
All right, and this right here looks like cover two man.
Hmm.
This looks like cover two man. Uh, right here. So his read is Waddle,
Yeah,
Hill.
and if you look at it, Kansas City's deficient a flat player.
Hmm.
So if you just check down the HN, like, wow, he's essentially one-on-one with a corner on the boundary to try to get a first down.
Yeah, and here's where we get into some of these conceptual problems. When we take a look at quarterback efficiency overall, we take a look at how well they do up against each type of coverage. Let me see if I can zoom in to Tua right here. All right, we have from the left all the way to the right, we have cover zero, cover one, cover two, cover three, cover four, cover six, and cover two man. You go ahead and we see Tua right here. All right, so this is cover one, cover two, cover zero, cover one, cover two, cover three, cover four, cover six, and cover two man. His worst efficiency is against cover two man. And what does Kansas City run a lot, Alf?
Cover two man. They do run some a lot of quarters as well. You know,
Mhm.
uh, they run quarters too. One thing that they were doing, which I thought was really smart, although it could have been exploited by just throwing underneath. Like they never ran a Texas route, and they should have against this type of defense. Sometimes they were showing single high, but it was obvious that. And to his credit, he was ignoring it. He was ignoring a lot of the pre-snap looks because they were tipping it almost all game. The Chiefs didn't do anything special. They were tipping their coverages almost all game. And there's some plays, and I showed them on OnlyFans earlier this week, where the Chiefs were lining up in the good old 28 yards off of the line of scrimmage in two deep. So essentially, they're guarding against a Hail Mary, and it's only 3rd and 8. All right. So what they're doing is they're playing to that that deep throw, and they're driving everything underneath. So
Mhm.
you defeat that by just doing the simplest thing, which is just hit your check down early in the progression and make them rally and tackle. And
Right.
once they do it 2 or 3 times, that's going to soften those coverages. But you just can't keep letting them harden those coverages by throwing into it. You just can't. And I think part of the problem why Tua has those numbers against cover two man is because against cover two man, this offense tries to defeat you between the numbers and the hash, and that's just such a tight window. And most teams play over fronts against passing offenses. They just do. So there's always going to be a guy there. So you're talking about all layered throws, and when you have to do when your offense is predicated on all layered throws, you're going to have issues. And teams got into that rhythm against Miami. And the worst part of it is that they could have just done the simple thing, which
And
Tua actually did at times, which is just throw, just go early just go early to your check down. And once you go early to your check down, you force them to have to rally and tackle. Teams don't like to do that over and over and over again.
especially in that cold weather up again
Right.
Kansas, up
Mhm.
up there in Kansas City. Now, before we get to the fix or the solutions for next year, I want to talk about our other sponsor. We have Southwest Airlines, the frequent flyer program. Now, this program right here, the Southwest Frequent Flyers program, you earn points by flying or spending with Southwest's partners, and you can use them how and whenever you want. Plus, if you're short on points, you can always purchase more to get that reward you've been eyeing. Booking a vacation without worrying about blackout dates, especially with the Southwest Flyers program, that's transparency. You can go ahead and click on the link below of our show to go ahead and sign up for the Southwest Rapid Rewards frequent flyer program here. All right, Alf. Now, as you know, we're getting into the fix of this Dolphins offense. I wanna show our viewers something right here. The percentile of air yards for Tua Tagovailoa in 2023. How often does Tua throw the ball a certain number of air yards compared to the rest of the league? Now we talked about it all in camp and in the beginning of the season, and you told us in OnlyFins there's a lot of screen passes in this offense. There's a lot of intermediate passes in this offense because it stems from the Shanahan tree. And looking at this, what is your biggest conclusion?
My biggest conclusion was that the diversity of screen passes that they called in camp or they worked on in training camp, they actually did not employ that whole full the whole full complement. Okay, I thought that they found a few pet screens that they liked that they executed a couple of times and they stuck to it. For example, Jalen Waddle ran
A lot of
uh,
tunnel screens.
yeah, he ran a lot of tunnel screens, and those things kind of dried up as he started showing up on the injury report. Although they ran one in this game against Kansas City.
Mhm.
Um, they they have certain screens that they run for Jeff Wilson that they do not run for Devon Achane.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that was absolutely lost, and we saw it during camp, was those combination wheel routes that they were running with Devon Achane.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find one on film. They did not run a single one with Achane this season. Why that is, I don't know, because I think that's something that would actually work,
Mm-hmm.
but we never got to see it. And I think the reason we never got to see it is because of the timing of it,
Hmm.
So, it has to be perfectly timed. And the other thing is teams are playing, like you said, cover two
Mm-hmm.
man. That'll create some issues. Cover two man against a combination wheel route, especially if you go 3-by-1 or 2-by-1, and you more likely than not want to go 2-by-1 because you don't want to have, because then it's a four strong concept, right? Because you're going to bring a guy out of the backfield. So if you go like let's say 3-by-1, which is overkill. Okay, that's going to draw way too many bodies. So let's say you run it to the field side.
You could go two
Okay,
by two in shotgun formation as well.
yeah, 2-by-2 could work as well, but you're trying to reduce the amount of players on that side of the field. It's still going to be, against cover two man, it's still going to end up being a whole shot because of the rules that you
Mhm.
have, especially playing the field side, because you're not going to run it to the play side. You're going to run it to the field side to give yourself as much room as possible, right?
Right.
So, if you run it field side, and this is something that they did a lot in training camp, you have to almost pray for the right coverage. I think that the way that they ran their offense this year was inducing so many coverages where they were just taking pages out of their playbook, and they were doing it almost voluntarily.
Hmm.
So parts of their playbook and parts of their installs were forcing coverages that were killing other parts of the playbook and their installs.
All right.
And that's
So
something that they must solve, and that they have to solve it by formation in the
right.
offseason. They got to work on it. It has to be a new evolution.
So I think when we talk about the evolution, before we get to that, like Mike McDaniel added a heavy dose of the screen game, throwing behind the line of scrimmage more than 80% of all quarterbacks in football, while still maintaining a high rate of intermediate passes. However, Tua still threw the ball between 1 to 10 yards at a very, very low rate. Now, if we take a look at 2022, we have right here 100% like of all quarterbacks, his air yards is in the intermediate portion of the field. The criticism of the offense in 2022 was that it was far too aggressive, pushing the ball down the field, and had a complete lack of a short passing game. Now, we've seen him adjust right from 2022 to 2023. We've seen Mike McDaniel adjust. Uh, could a heavy increase in passes short of the sticks, but past the line of scrimmage be in store for 2024? And I want to take a look at for CJ Stroud and what Bobby Slowick calls. How often does CJ Stroud throw the ball a certain number of air yards compared to the rest of the league? You still have passes short of the sticks, but look at within 6 to 10 air yards. Like you're getting it. Like you're getting it. You're doing it over 70% of the time compared to the rest of the league. And right there in the intermediate field, intermediate middle of the field passes, 97% compared to the rest of the quarterbacks in the league. You're still maintaining that aggressiveness. So how does Mike McDaniel, bring that diversity of passes? Is it building more of the O line to hold up or changing up the route schemes?
I think that it's all of the above, but above all else, I think that they have to make drastic personnel changes.
Hmm.
Okay, and they have to come almost all of them on the wide receiver side of the ball. The wide
Right.
receiver unit has to be, in my opinion, overhauled from wide receiver 3 on down.
Hmm. Right.
Okay, um, can you bring in a tight end that could play with enough speed? And I said this before the season, when the season started. That's why I made some of the predictions that I made. I predicted that Miami would not have a touchdown from a tight end this year. I nailed that one, and that was the first time in franchise history. I also predicted that they would not catch 30 passes this season. Now they actually beat me on that
Mhm.
because I think that they caught what 37 passes this year
Mhm.
from the tight end possession. Uh, you either improve the speed in the tight end room, okay, and the only way you can do that is by bringing in somebody that can do it. Okay, I don't
Ben
know what's I
Ben
don't
Ben Sinot from Kansas State, draft him in the 5th round, 6th round.
yeah, something like that is gonna have to be necessary, or somehow by the grace of God, Bowers drops to you, although that's not gonna happen. But and they're gonna need that pick for other things,
Or do
in
you
my opinion.
get or do you get, a different wide receiver 3? You do not resign Cedric Wilson, you do not resign Braxton Berrios. You draft somebody in the 1st, 2nd round and draft, a guy like maybe Josh Reynolds who has experience in this type of offense.
Yeah, this I like Josh Reynolds a lot, although I'm afraid that we're gonna fall right back into the same thing. I would have to dig into his film this season.
Mhm.
Dolphins ran a lot of singles, and this happened a lot in the last like month of the season. Uh, they ran a lot of singles, and single routes are just when you only have one guy in between the hashes on
Right.
a route concept. They ran a lot of singles for Cedric Wilson, and he just was not winning. Okay, he was not winning his one-on-one matchups. They're gonna need a guy that could win those one-on-one matchups because on a lot of those plays, okay, and especially against the Bills. Okay, that's where it showed up the most. It showed up some against the Ravens, but then the Ravens started as essentially flooding more people into the middle of the field, and that was because Waddle wasn't there. Okay, the Bills were actually respecting your outside speed, and they weren't respecting your single routes.
Hmm.
Okay, the Chiefs, the conditions were bad, but you could see where it was also available to them if they could win in on those single routes. Okay. I think they're going to need somebody that can win one on one across a receiver's face. I mean, a cornerback's face, or even across a linebacker's face. Guys that could run the zones because they just did not have that this year.
Yeah.
Uh,
And they need a variety of different body types too
yes,
in this wide receiver room. You have very similar body types in Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Braxton Berrios. Cedric Wilson is maybe the tallest wide receiver in this group
unless, well,
Outside of Eric Ezukama.
nah, Claypool's taller,
Clay,
6'4".
I don't think Claypool. I don't think Claypool really counts. To be honest, he's a free agent as well. But maybe you could get a different body guy like a Troy Franklin from Oregon, a Xavier Legette from USC, or maybe I keep circling back to Josh Reynolds. I think he fits, but maybe Harris Campbell, like similar body type, but he has a different type of play style. Or do you go and snatch Tyler Boyd?
I would have to look at the film. What is evident, like I said, is that these concepts were working.
Hmm.
You were getting that one-on-one coverage in the middle of the field with pretty much nobody, no help, and no leverage to be found anywhere. Okay, so you're talking about guys essentially just playing one-on-one in the
Right,
middle of the field, and they were not winning, especially Cedric Wilson. They
right.
need a guy that could win, and not in the short zone either, because that's what everybody was talking about with Braxton Berrios that he would eventually be able to do. He didn't do that either. Okay, so Braxton Berrios was an absolute disappointment. Okay,
Right,
but they need somebody in that role that can beat guys in the intermediate and that they respect with speed. So
right.
it's going to be a tough ask. You're going to have to spend an asset for it, either a
Now,
draft pick or you're going to have to spend some money.
before we end this, I want to talk a little bit of analytics. Right here, there was an ongoing conversation on passing under center using play action passes. So when you take a look at offensive drop back play calling on early downs, which is first and second down, and how efficient they can be when you're under center and it's a play action pass, that is the most efficient formation for a pass. You can be under center, whether it be I form, whether it be single back, and it has a 50% success rate. You gain 11 yards per drawback, and almost 19% of the time you get a 20-yard completion down the field. Now, this Dolphins offense last year, and now I spoke to you about it as well, there's a lot of run pass split formations for this Dolphins offense. And when I take a look at it first down under center, 79% of the time they're running the ball. That's a negative 26% pass rate over expectation. Like when they're going under center, almost 80% of the time you're running the ball. The defense can pull out the stops. Now, when it's second down, right, when they're under center, and it only happened 29 times this year, they're running the ball 66% of the time. Now, do you think this was more so being under center early and running the ball instead of passing was a Mike McDaniel thing or an offensive line thing?
I think it's a Mike McDaniel thing, and I think it's something that he took from McVay. I think he was setting up a lot of play calls with a lot of this stuff. And I will say this, okay? I always thought that this team should have been built around that, around the play action pass, especially
Mhm.
under center. And if you watch our opponents, if you watch the Dolphins' opponents on film, and this started happening somewhere around midseason, uh, whenever they're in shotgun and they have these mesh points, okay, there's moments, and none more evident than when they played Kansas City and Frankfurt, where linebackers are ignoring it and just bailing almost at the snap, which suggests that the return of the RPO game should have been in the offing for this game
Yeah.
against Kansas City, and it
Yeah.
was not.
Those stick flats, you can have China routes, option routes. You could have had something like that as well, but it
So
was not
it's
there.
that is a phenomenon that you just don't see everywhere else. That's a phenomenon that is exclusive to opponents of the Miami Dolphins. Guys are just bailing and getting depth almost as an ethos of their defense. You got to be able to take advantage of that, and because that means that your offense is actually working. Okay, and Miami just never did. They didn't take advantage of it. It was happening uh, with the Bills, although the Bills are a much more sophisticated and disciplined defense, in my opinion, than the Chiefs. Although the Chiefs are better, so if that makes some sense, they're much more disciplined. So they're going to actually try to stay home as much as possible. The Chiefs are not. Chiefs are just not a disciplined team on defense. They bail. And part of that, and that's part of the reason why they've had some bad games where teams have run the ball on them successfully. Okay. Miami should have taken advantage of it. It showed up again in this game, and they just never did.
All right, Alf and everybody, thank you for tuning in and watching. We will be back with draft talk as well as soon as the playoffs are over. Stay here. Fins up, everybody. Thank you.